Hello, welcome to Stories for Wonderful Children. I'm Dan Wendelin, your host and storyteller. I hope you've been enjoying the ongoing story of Myra and the Online School for Adventuring. In tonight's story, Myra and Willow embark on a long flight across the forest in search of answers. Will they find them there? Let's listen and find out. Enjoy the story. Early the next morning, as agreed, Myra met Willow near the Griffin stables, and she headed inside to check out one of the school griffins so that they could make their flight over the forest to see if they could find the ruins of the Temple of the Fates. Myra headed inside to see the stable master, who she had seen a bunch of times before when she had been taking her flying lessons. He saw her and said, "Morning, Ms. Myra. How are you this morning?" The stable master was sort of a really very nice but sort of gruff dwarven woman with one of the more impressive beards that Myra had ever seen. Not that she had seen that many dwarfs, but this one had a really impressive beard. Myra said, "Hey, I was hoping to take a flight today. Since it's the weekend, I was hoping I'm far enough in my flying lessons now that I'm allowed to check out Griffin." And the stable master said, "Oh, yeah, sure. Come on over. Let's see." "Oh," said the stable master, "I'm sorry. As it turns out, the Griffins aren't free this weekend." And as she was saying it, Myra noticed that she was looking at something sort of under the desk that she used for like all the paperwork and everything. And Myra said, "Oh, well, I really had a trip I wanted to make with friends this weekend. I would have the Griffin back by this evening." And the stable master said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but we're not doing any student loans this weekend." "Oh," said Myra, "okay. Well, do you mind if I just check in on the Griffin that I've been using?" "Sure," said the stable master, and she went back to one of the other stalls where she'd been brushing one of the Griffins. So Myra went down to the stall where the Griffin that she rode, whose name was, I need a good Griffin name, ladies. Brightwing? Sure. Name was Brightwing. And she checked in really briefly, basically just leaned over the stall, leaned in and said, "Hi, Brightwing." And then she turned right around and walked quickly and very quietly back to the desk. And checking to make sure the stable master wasn't looking, she ducked her head under and looked where the stable master had been looking. And there was a piece of paper, and at the top it said "No Fly List." And there were handwritten names on it. And Myra saw her own name written at the bottom. Most recently added. She felt her ears turn red with heat. She had been banned from borrowing the school's griffins? Why? Why would she be allowed into the forest, but just around the school and not allowed to fly? So frustrating. But she wasn't going to take it out on the stable master. She briefly entertained the idea of stealing Brightwing, but she didn't think that would go very well, and she was sure that would get her expelled. And so she thanked the stable master and headed out to where Willow was sitting under a tree with one hand against it and her eyes closed, looking like she was communing with the tree or something. Myra stood there for a moment, not wanting to disturb her, when Willow's eyes popped open. "What did the tree say?" said Myra. Willow frowned at her. "What are you talking about? I can't talk to trees. I was just resting." "Oh, okay," said Myra. "Well, trip's off, apparently." "Why?" said Willow. "Well," said Myra, "apparently someone, and I think I know who, has put me on the school's no-fly list, so I'm not allowed to borrow a Griffin. So unless you want to go by yourself..." "Oh," said Willow, "I think it'll be fine." "How is that?" said Myra. "I told you," said Willow. "My teachers say I'm a prodigy." And then she sort of shimmered and shifted, and a moment later, where Willow had been was the largest eagle that Myra had ever seen in her life. The eagle was like easily twice her size. Myra took 2 steps back. She said, "Whoa, whoa, when you said you could turn into a bird, I was thinking like sparrow." The eagle turned and said in Willow's voice, "Well, surprise." "So," said Myra, "can you, carry me?" "Oh, absolutely," said Willow. "Are you sure?" said Myra. The giant bird made a sort of shrugging motion. "Pretty sure," said in Willow's voice. Myra said, "Why don't we start out flying close to the ground?" "Coward," said Willow. "Come on." So Myra sort of scrambled up Willow's back until she found a spot that was kind of just in front of the wings, but not up onto sort of the neck. And she said, "Am I heavy? Are we?" And then she said, "Wow!" because Willow had jumped into the air, spread her wings, and they were flying up. And Myra was saying, "Hey, shouldn't we be a little closer to the ground? I mean, what happens if I get too heavy?" "You're fine," said Willow. "Just quit squirming." "I'm not squirming," said Myra. Said Willow, her powerful wings beating and taking them higher into the air. She circled the campus once and then headed due west, away from the rising sun and across the forest. They weren't really sure how far it was to the coast, and after they'd been flying for about 30 minutes and Myra could no longer see the school behind them, she said, "So, are you getting tired? Are you going to be able to keep this up?" "Actually," said Willow, "I'm fine right now. I mean, I think we'll need to rest a bit before I try to fly us back, but no problem." "Okay," said Myra, "so can I do anything to help?" "Just hold on and hold still," said Willow. "Got it," said Myra. They flew on for maybe another half hour or so, when Myra noticed that Willow was sort of beating her wings more slowly and had banked to sort of turn a little bit to the right. And she said, "What's wrong?" "I see something up there in the forest, and I wanted to get a better look, just in case it's the ruins." But as she got lower, Myra could see it too. It was an area where it looked like the trees were moving, thrashing around almost, as if they were in a violent wind, but it was just in one spot. And then as they got closer, and Willow made sort of a broad circle, Myra was having trouble making out what exactly it was that she was seeing. And then she realized that what she was seeing was not trees, but one massive tree. Just the biggest single tree she'd ever seen. And it was moving as if it were an animal, like it was moving that fast. And she could see great loops of string being thrown over its branches, and then the branch would flex and snap the string in two. "I think," said Myra, "that must be one of the things the deer told us about, one of the great old powers of the forest, that the string demon attacks sometimes." Said Willow. "It appears to be holding its own at the moment." "Well," said Myra, "it's certainly nothing we're going to do anything about. We have ruins to find." And with that, Willow beat her wings again and headed up, still heading west. After flying for another hour, Willow said, "I am starting to get a little tired, but I think I see a break in the forest off in the distance." And maybe 5 minutes later, Myra said, "Yes, I think I see sort of the haze of the ocean off there. We should start looking for the ruins now." And they both began to scan the forest below them, but it was Willow with her sharp eagle eyes that spotted it first. It was off to their left a bit. She said, "There's a break in the trees." They began to head towards it, and they could see that there were vine-covered buildings, and they really seemed to be in pretty good shape, like the roofs were intact. It was a great stone temple, now covered with vines and clearly in disrepair. Willow swooped in, made a broad circle around it as they searched for any danger, but not seeing anything, She came down to land in front of the massive front porch of the temple. Myra slid from her back, and Willow said, "I'm just going to rest for a second." And she sat down, shimmering back into her human form, and then laid out full length on the leaves of the forest floor. "Are you okay?" said Myra. "I'm fine," said Willow. "I'm just really tired. Maybe I should rest here a bit while you just go check things out?" "I'm not sure if we should split up," said Myra. "Look," said Willow, "if you want me to be able to fly you back once we're done here, and I do not relish the idea of spending the night in this forest, I need to rest. Besides, you're the sneaker. Go sneak around. See what you can find." "All right," said Myra, "but if anything happens, I'm not so tired that I can't yell," said Willow. "All right," said Myra, and she turned and headed up the steps into the ruined temple. Tomorrow night, I will tell you what she found there. And that's the end. Thanks for listening to Stories for Wonderful Children. I created today's show, but questions and running commentary were supplied by my children. The theme music was created by Brandon Thompson, and our wonderful logo was designed by Silas Swindlin. If you know someone who might enjoy the show, please tell them about it. Do you want more stories? You can now subscribe to the show and help pick a new story for me to tell every month. The show's website is storiesforwonderfulchildren.com. Until next time, I'm Dan Wendelin, reminding you to tell someone you love a story.